everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So it's time for the next episode of my new series, which I started last week, which is Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I thought this time I would cover what is probably to me the biggest example I can say of a television series where I personally think that old is much better than what we're getting today. And this is one of my favourite shows of all time. I'd also regard as my favourite sci-fi live-action series of all time as well. A show I've been a fan of since I was a kid, and that show, of course, is none other than Doctor Who. So for starters, you guys are probably going to be asking me, of course, what does Doctor Who mean to me? Well, for those of you who don't know, yes, I am indeed a Whovian, but I say a Whovian of the old Doctor Who things, and not today's Doctor Who, hence why I'm covering it in this video of why I think old's better than new. So, my interest in Doctor Who first began all the way back in 2005 when the first series of the new revived series by the BBC started broadcasting on TV in the UK, and I watched Christopher Eccleston's only series as the Doctor, and I loved it. I thought it was really great from start to finish, and I personally think Christopher Eccleston is the most underrated Doctor of all time because I thought he was really good despite only being in one season of the series. Because I think he did a really great job bringing the franchise back to life after, of course, it had ended before in 1989. And it, of course, had a short-lived movie from the 90s, I think it was 1996, I think it was, yeah. And this series I definitely really loved. And then after that, of course, Eccleston regenerated into David Tennant, who, of course, was the 10th Doctor. And in his 3 seasons playing the Doctor, David Tennant became my favourite Doctor of all time. And I also regard David Tennant as the 10th Doctor as my favourite TV show performance of all time, live-action-wise, ever. I think his performance was absolutely phenomenal. He made the Doctor, as far as I'm concerned, my Doctor. And I loved his 3 seasons, and if you guys are asking what my favourite episode is, it's the 2-parter being The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Oh, I love those 2 episodes so much. And always such an absolute blast to rewatch because I still rewatch old Doctor Who to this day, including my favourite episodes, of course. And if you guys are also going to be guessing from that, yes, my favourite Doctor Who villain is most definitely the Daleks. When I was a kid, I was so obsessed with the Daleks. Like, so much. I used to collect the figures, I used to draw them in books. I loved them so much. And then, of course, Tennant regenerated into Matt Smith as well. And I thought Matt Smith was also great as well as the 11th Doctor. And in his 3 seasons, and of course, he was the current Doctor for the show's 50th anniversary of the Day of the Doctor, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal 10 years ago now. Hard to believe it's 10 years old, because that special was phenomenal. Then, of course, in the Christmas special, with Time of the Doctor, which I thought was amazing, and my podcast had it as my favourite Christmas special of the series that I've seen, he, of course, then regenerated into Peter Capaldi. And I think Peter Capaldi was excellent as the Doctor. And I'm not going to deny that in his last times playing the character, he did have some questionable writing to work with, some pretty bad material to work with, but I think he elevated it really well and made it work. I think he did a really great job of it, in my opinion. He might have some questionable writing, but he just nailed it as the 12th Doctor. And as far as I'm concerned, he's the last Doctor. And while I was waiting for the next series of this show to keep releasing, I also discovered that this show wasn't the only time Doctor Who had been on television because it had an original classic series that began on the 23rd of November 1963 all the way to 1989 with 7 actors playing the Doctor. And I've seen some full episodes, some full stories back then, and I gotta say that they are absolutely amazing. And I am actually planning one day to binge watch the entire classic series because I've seen clips already, guys, so I am aware what happens in it, of course. I've seen regenerations as well because regeneration really fascinated me. And I also love the crossover with your Doctors called the 5 Doctors to celebrate the 20th anniversary. That was a great crossover. I love that. And I especially as well love the stories of the Daleks. I mainly watch the stories of the Daleks in the classic series, but I have no doubt in my mind that the old story is going to be absolutely amazing that I've not seen yet because I've heard great things about them. And I'm very excited to one day binge watch the whole thing. I'm very excited to do that. And so, when it comes to why I think Doctor Who, old things are much better than new, it's simply because of the story that came after Peter Capaldi's regeneration. Because on the Christmas special, Twice Upon a Time, when Capaldi regenerated, he of course regenerated into the first female incarnation of a Doctor, who is played by Jodie Whittaker. And when it comes to Jodie's tenure as the Doctor, I've personally not been a fan of it at all. And I would also regard Geordie as the worst Doctor I've ever seen as well, in my opinion. I mean, I thought she was gonna do well based on her first season as she regenerated, but in her first season, I just lost interest immediately. Because when her first season started airing on TV in the UK, I was at university as a student. I left there, actually, coincidentally, on Doctor Who Day in 2018, coincidentally. So I didn't have much time in my leisure to actually watch this series because I was so busy with university work. But I did see a handful of episodes of the first season, and to be completely honest, I was not a fan of them because I thought they were really boring and uninteresting, and I also did not care about her companions apart from Graham. Graham, in my opinion, was the best acted and most likeable of the companions when it comes to Geordie's tenure as the 13th Doctor. Because I personally really could not stand Ryan Sinclair or Yasmin Khan. Because I personally thought they were both really bland and lifeless. And compared to other companions who I absolutely loved before, in my opinion, they can't act. They really can't at all because they were so lifeless and wooden. Like, I don't know what happened at all with them. I was expecting so much better from them, but unfortunately, I just found them so lifeless compared to other great companions before. Like, why is it that companions before them, like, for example, Rose Tyler, Martha Jones, Captain Jack Harkness, Sarah Jane Smith, many others I could name, Mickey Smith as well, or maybe Romana, or even Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, or Ian and Barbara, the ones who started the show with the first Doctor. Why are they so much better than these companions? I don't understand what happened. So, I didn't watch much of this series. I did, however, see a New Year's Day special with a Dalek called Resolution, but I did, however, hate how a Dalek was literally made out of trash. That was, in my opinion, a dumb move. And speaking of Daleks, why is it also that the design for a bronze Daleks, you know, like this, why is this so much better than whatever the hell we had in Resolution? Like, goodness me, we weren't even trying with that design for a Daleks whatsoever. And then, of course, came along the 12 series, which, of course, aired in early 2020, before the lockdowns happened for me. And when it comes to the 12 series, while I appreciated that they did bring back some familiar villains, because what I didn't like about her first season, Geordie's, was how there wasn't any of the iconic villains, just new villains who I could not care less about because they were so bad in my opinion, and just ones I didn't care about. So I appreciated they brought back villains like Judoon and the Cybermen. I guess that was somewhat of a guilty pleasure, and of course Captain Jack also came back as well. So I guess that was a guilty pleasure, but I think the writing in that season was stupid. Really stupid, and the dialogue, in my opinion, but the script was just ridiculous. And when it comes to Graham, one thing I did like about him was how he was a cancer survivor in the story. I thought that was a good idea for him, really, but I really hated how Geordie's Doctor had no reaction to him when he confided in her that he was worried he'd get his cancer back in Series 12, and she did nothing to respond whatsoever, just a blank face. Like, the Doctors before Geordie would never be blank like that. They would actually show support for Graham, which is just ridiculous. I can't believe they did that. They just made her such an unlikable character. I couldn't believe it. That's why I wouldn't call her the Doctor. I'd call her Dr. Karen, because that's what she is. She's not the Doctor whatsoever. The Doctor would show compassion. That's what Doctor's all about, compassion. And in addition to that as well, the writing, in my opinion, was also stupid because it brings up a Master, and it doesn't even explain how he survived, of course, getting stabbed by his previous incarnation when he was Missy. Like, I don't know what happened at all with that. Like, that was, in my opinion, ridiculous. But Sacha Dhawan, I thought, was good as a Master. I think he's a good actor, Sacha Dhawan. I mean, part of me wishes he played the 13th Doctor instead of Geordie. I think he'd been much better, in my opinion. But what also really infuriated me was also the retconning, because this season reveals that the Doctor is not a Time Lord. The Doctor is instead a creature called the Timeless Child, which is simply a child found by the people of Gallifrey who has the ability to regenerate, and they took that idea of regeneration from the Doctor. So that just completely annihilates the lore of the franchise, and in my opinion, it disrespects those who created the Doctor back in the 60s. Just so disrespectful right there. And I think it's one of the dumbest plot twists I've ever seen in my life. So basically, it also reveals as well that William Hartnell, rest in peace, was not the first Doctor. It turns out there was tons of Doctors before William Hartnell. One of them, of course, being a fugitive Doctor played by Joe Martin, right there too. So I don't understand what happened with the writing for this. I think it's so dumb. And we then, of course, got another New Year's Day special with Daleks again, with Revolution of the Daleks, which I thought was okay because of the Daleks, because I love the Daleks. You know, I can't get enough of the Daleks. But then we get to what is, in my opinion, the worst Doctor Who series of all time, of course, which is Series 13, which has a subtitle called Doctor Who Flux. And I watched that series in late 2021, and in my opinion, that whole series was absolute garbage. And it did so much damage to the franchise that I was done. Because after I watched the final episode of that series, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done with this show. This show's dead. So that's when I stopped watching the series. I couldn't care for it anymore. Because they ruined the Doctor so much by making the Doctor into Dr. Karen. And you can also tell that series was also badly rushed too, because it was only 6 episodes. And they crammed in far too much story that you didn't even know what the hell was going on. And I must also say that the visuals and the CGI were also, in my opinion, atrocious. Like, I can't believe what they were doing. Like, why is it that the visual quality of the older series is so much better? Because back then, they knew what they were doing. Like, it's just so ridiculous. And recently as well, I also rewatched one of Hartnell's stories, which was The Dalek Invasion of Earth. Great story. Like, it's so amazing to me, and I say amazing in an appalling way, how much better, like, the story, the dialogue, the characters, the villains is compared to today's Doctor Who. Like, that's from the 60s, guys, and it is, in my opinion, much better than today's Doctor Who. Like, goodness me. Like, I don't know what happened. And even the stories that I saw from the classic series on DVD with Daleks, they were also, in my opinion, much better, much more entertaining. Because what Doctor Who's become is a franchise where the main character's been ruined. Now, you're probably going to be asking me, am I aware of what's happened to a show after where I stopped watching? Well, yes, I am. Because I've relied on watching reviews from my favourite YouTubers. So, for example, Hero vs. Babyface and Nerdrotic. I watch those two. They're both absolute legends. And I love watching their stuff on Doctor Who. And I applaud them both for watching this so we don't have to. They're both absolute legends. And I'm also as well aware that in terms of Geordie's regeneration, she turned into David Tennant. Now, if you think for 1 second that's going to bring me back to this franchise, the answer to that is hell no. Just because David Tennant's my favourite Doctor doesn't mean I'm going to come back to this franchise whatsoever, because it makes zero sense how a Doctor is able to degenerate, if you will, to a previous incarnation. That makes no sense whatsoever. Just ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe they did that. Like, if they think it's going to try and bring me back to the franchise, then they're so wrong. Because I think it's so dumb, and it ruins the whole law of regeneration. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I also have zero interest in watching the 60th anniversary specials as well, because I've heard good things about them. I've seen clips too as well on YouTube and Twitter, and I'm appalled by it. Like, also, why is it that the Day of the Doctor from 2013 and also the 5 Doctors from 1983, why are those anniversary specials way better than this 60th anniversary special in terms of what they're doing for fans? Like, goodness me. I just think it's really appalling what's happened. Just goodness me. So I think the hashtag RP Doctor Who is so much true. I couldn't agree more about hashtag, because it's true. Doctor Who, as far as I'm concerned, is dead. The franchise I used to love when I was a kid is gone. Completely gone. So this is what I'll do. I will, of course, keep rewatching the Doctor Who that I love. And I will also one day binge watch the classic series. When it comes to the episode which unfortunately lost, I'll see if I can find their restoration, which are animated. I have Power of Daleks on DVD so much, I'll definitely give a watch one day. So I'll definitely watch that, animated form. Everything else I will definitely give a watch, because I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be much better than today's Doctor Who. So that's what I'm going to do with what I love about Doctor Who. So, as far as I'm concerned, Doctor Who ended with Peter Capaldi with Twice Upon a Time. I like to pretend that he was able to cure himself from regeneration and recover, and that was it. Happy ending right there. As far as I'm concerned, this franchise is dead, and I'm not going to watch any more of it, because I have no doubt in my mind I've been wasting my time. Absolutely. So, I'll happily stick to a classic run of Doctor Who, and the Revival series from 2005 all the way to Peter Capaldi's last episode, Twice Upon a Time, and that's it for me when it comes to what I love about Doctor Who. So, long story short, guys, this is me covering why, in my opinion, Doctor Who is probably the biggest example I can say of a TV show franchise where old is better than new. So, You know what drill, guys? Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to tell us in the comments what you guys think of Doctor Who. Do you think the old Doctor Who is better than new Doctor Who? What do you think? Tell me in the comments below what you think. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and to comment in the future. And Alonzi.